What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
What's up, YouTube, and welcome to the Layup Line. Now, the NBA is almost back. As of the recording of this video, NBA preseason games return in about 2 weeks, and the NBA season resumes in a month. Now, I'm setting goals for myself on this channel, and I'd really love to hit 1,000 subscribers at some point 3 months into the season. So if you like the NBA, if you love the NBA, do me a favor and share this channel with somebody that does as well. With all that out the way, I'd like to get right into today's video. I'm going to be talking about the top 5 NBA head coaches that I think will be losing their jobs this upcoming season. Now, number 5 on my list is Detroit Pistons head coach Dwayne Casey. This upcoming season will be Dwayne Casey's 3rd year as the Pistons head coach. Now, the Pistons front office and ownership have always had a playoffs first mindset, whether that was an actual realistic goal for the team or not. And so I don't expect anything to be different for Casey this year, but the team seems to me to have taken a significant step back. They lost a key piece in Christian Wood. We're still questioning if Blake Griffin will be able to return to all-star form that we saw a few years ago. Derrick Rose may be traded as well, and they acquired a number of power forwards and centers this offseason. They did acquire a top pick this year's draft, and he seems to be promising, but I don't know that the roster quite fits his talent at this point, since they don't have a lot of shooting on the team. They also traded their best shooter in Luke Kennard over this offseason, so I think the team will be significantly worse. With all that being said, I don't think these losses will be on Dwayne Casey. He's proven to be a competent NBA coach, even having a Coach of the Year award a few seasons ago with the Raptors. So I think he may be in line for a new coaching position after this season, when I think a few more seats might fill up. So I think this has the possibility to be a peaceful parting with Dwayne Casey just wanting to take a better position somewhere else and not wanting to be in a developmental situation like the Pistons this season. Before I get into this next head coach, I did want to promo some videos I already have on this channel. I did already go over the new head coaches in each conference, so those videos will be linked below in a playlist. But without further ado, this next head coach. Now, the 4th head coach that I think will be losing their job this upcoming season is Orlando Magic head coach Steve Clifford. Now, I don't think Steve Clifford's a bad coach by any means. He's coached this team up on defense the past few seasons, and they've even had a 7 or 8 playoff spot the past few years as well. Nikola Vucevic made an all-star appearance. Jonathan Isaac's been an all-NBA level defender. Aaron Gordon's been an improving defender as well, a decent passer. But he also hasn't quite taken that next step that some thought he might, like a potential all-star in the Eastern Conference type of player. So I think there could be some changes coming for the Magic. I expect them to hopefully be trying to rebuild that situation a bit and trade out some of the veterans that they have on the roster to let young pieces like Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz develop into players and just see what they have in their young talent. So that might also come with a coaching change, as it often does with these rebuilds. Steve Clifford just might be a guy who doesn't want to stick around for a rebuilding situation like we saw with the Hornets. That's why he departed from that situation. He's also a fairly old guy, so I don't think retirement is off the table there as well. But I'd certainly like to see a good coach like Steve Clifford stick around, or maybe take an assistant coaching role on someone else's bench. I did think he's a good coach, and I wanted to shout that out. Now, the next guy that I think will be losing their head coaching position this upcoming season is Washington Wizards head coach Scott Brooks. And Scott Brooks was brought in a few years ago in 2016 when the Wizards were trying to lure Kevin Durant to coming back to his hometown of DC. The idea was to bring in his former Thunder coach as a way of getting him to come play there. As we all know, it didn't work out. Now, Scott Brooks, it just might be time is up. He's had a few seasons with that team now. They did make playoffs and were a decent team. They were a threat to make the Eastern Conference Finals one year when John Wall and Bradley Beal were healthy. They ultimately lost to the Celtics that season. So I just think that the time might be up for him. They've given him a few years there, and with rumors of Bradley Beal or John Wall potentially getting moved, that situation might pivot into a rebuild any moment now. So Scott Brooks is definitely a guy I don't expect to be with the Wizards for much longer. longer. Whether it's this upcoming season or the next, I don't expect Scott Brooks to be sticking around in DC much longer. He was a fairly decent offensive coach. I could see him getting a job somewhere else, maybe not as a head coach again for a couple seasons, but he did make the NBA Finals that year in 2012 with that young Thunder team. So who knows, maybe another team thinks they can revive Scott Brooks' reputation as a head coach around the league. I'd certainly like to see something change up in Washington though. So now we're down to the top two, and the next guy that I think will be losing his head coaching position this upcoming season is Atlanta Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce. Now Lloyd Pierce is going into his third season as the Hawks head coach, and he hasn't exactly had great rosters behind him. Trae Young has really been the offensive centerpiece of these Hawks teams. There hasn't been all that much talent around him. The squad finally brought in a lot of big money free agents. Clint Capella was brought in via a trade during the regular season, and we still haven't seen him get to play with the Hawks quite yet. They also drafted a young player, Onyeka Okongwu, in the draft with the 6th pick or 7th pick, I think it was. They brought in free agents Danilo Gallinari on a big money deal. Bogdan Bogdanovic was on a big money deal. They brought in Chris Dunn as well, and Rajon Rondo. So the Hawks spent a lot of money and they're looking to make playoffs. Lloyd Pierce has a player development background and a few years as an assistant coach with the Philadelphia 76ers. So he's not all that experienced of a guy, and he hasn't made playoffs as a head coach. They also, over the offseason, brought in the former Pacers head coach Nate McMillan to be an assistant with Lloyd Pierce, which I think will help him, but it's already caused a lot of speculation that Nate McMillan was brought in to inevitably take over for Lloyd Pierce when the Hawks do decide to part ways with him. So there's already those rumors out there that Lloyd Pierce will be let go with the Hawks, so putting him second on this list because of that. The number one guy that I think will certainly be getting a pink slip this upcoming season is Sacramento Kings head coach Luke Walton. Now, Luke Walton's time with the Sacramento Kings has been particularly snake-bitten in my opinion. He was kind of set up for failure taking over for Dave Yeager, who had a fairly successful stint with the Kings. Dave Yeager really pushed the pace on that Kings team, and they had a late surge at the end of the season where they almost slipped into that 8th playoff spot. They were a fairly competitive team, and so that's why Luke Walton was expected to build on that, and that expectation really set him up for failure because the Kings never had a top 8 roster during his time there. There was also constant rumors and reports coming out that there were chemistry and locker room issues with those Kings teams. Buddy Hield was very vocal about being unhappy with contract negotiations with the Kings, and that boiled over into the season when he was unhappy with his role on the Kings when Luke Walton made him come off the bench, although that did make them a better team when Buddy Hield was coming off the bench, so make of that what you will. After that, you get into the offseason, and then there are reports that Buddy Hield is not, returning Luke Walton's text messages, and so there's obviously some beef there because Buddy Hield is also on Twitter liking posts about getting traded to the Sixers and other teams like that. So I think there's just a lot of problems in the Kings locker room, and I expect Luke Walton will probably be gone at some point during the season. They did bring in former Pelicans head coach Alvin Gentry as an assistant there, so I think Alvin Gentry could be someone in line to take over that job, or maybe even on an interim basis to finish out the season. I expect changes to come in Sacramento, and these are the top 5 guys that I think will be getting pink slips, some more than others. So let me know in the comments down if you disagree, if you agree. What guys did I miss? What guys do you think are probably higher up on this list? There were already a lot of coaching changes this season. Like I said, I have videos and a playlist below on that. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you learned something new. Thank you, and have a good one.